Zoning in. Precise, complete, and informative. This is your talk show, Zoning In with Deshelle, Annette, Christina, Elizabeth, Shaw, and your host, Janisha Davis. Zoning In, your dose of fresh thoughts.
Good evening again, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of Zoning In, where we zone in on your dose of fresh thoughts. Today, I have on my panel, I have Miss Elizabeth Wright, who is a counselor, a marriage counselor. There is Miss Christina Williams-Gray. She's a divorced Christian. And I have Pastor Annette Blake. I also have a divorce lawyer, Miss Kenisha Powell. Now, I am Kimisha Davis, your host, and today I have my co-host with me, Miss Tashelle Christian. She's really doing the roving this week. So today's topic is the Christian family is in crisis. Now, I want to read to you something from sociologist Christopher Lasch. And in his book, Haven in a Heartless World, he wrote about a generation ago that identifying the weakening of the family as the most significant and hazardous event of our time, Lasch highlighted the dissolution of the natural family as a tragedy for society as a whole, as well as for the individuals whose lives are so directly affected. He also said that the first thing to realize about the current family catastrophe is that it did not arise overnight, which is kind of telling. This just could not arise overnight. In fact, economical, political, social, and ideological factors all play a role in the contemporary family crisis. However, there is another reason why the family is also in crisis. And this reason is the theological reason. The family issue is a theological crisis. And therefore, if this is so, the church's primary priority must be to address this. Now, I want to first speak with my counselor, Miss Elizabeth Wright. Do you find that during counseling, most of the couples that come to you for counseling are Christian families?
I'm delighted to be a part of this panel. Yes, I do believe that Christian families face crisis. So family crisis can also be emotional, physical abuse, substance abuse, and addiction. But first and foremost, Ms. Davis, let me give you a brief definition of what a crisis is. A crisis is an event or period that will lead or may lead to an unstable and dangerous situation affecting an individual, group, or all society. The truth of the fact is that no wonder that more than 40% of marriage end in divorce. While it's true that many marriages weren't just meant to be. Some couples grow apart. We can all attest to that. Also, some are not incompatible.
Are not compatible?
Sorry, some are not compatible. I'm sorry. Also, the fact many marriages end because couples don't have the tools to handle their problem.
Mm-hmm.
There is a stigma attached to many marriage counseling. Many people think that it is only when you are getting a divorce or you are splitting up, you need to seek counseling, and that's not it. We all know that the purpose of marriage is unity and oneness.
Yes.
But as counselors, we realize the reverse, that some marriages are hell on earth. The partners are like prisoners living inside the cages without gates. And even though, I'm sorry, even though church seeks to find ways of this putting counseling, let marriages know that there are disciplinary committees that can help to assist them. You also have the court. Some also end up in the court. But according to Corinthians 6:18, also in the book of Galatians 5:15, warn against biting and devouring each other. So based on information that gathered, right? The Christian homes are presently in chaos. So there's a survey done to find out how persons get along after they are married. And we found out that chaos has been happening and they have been neglecting one another. And they are also neglecting premarital counseling before entering into marriages. Because of that, we have a 40% out of 100 Christian marriages collapsing within a 3 to 4 months period.
Oh.
Yes. And today, the greatest challenge in Christian marital crisis is oftentimes blame. The blame are pushing on the church. And says, even sometimes persons ending up getting married in the church, ma'am. And young couples involved with each other. And the pastor or whoever suggests that they want to keep it a hush-hush. So they ask them to get married early. And because of that, they have not end up into premarital counsel. So the marriage doesn't last.
Oh, so let me ask you though, Miss Wright, because you said when young couples get involved with each other, do you mean that they are courting, or do you mean that the relationship has passed? That is it pregnancy? What is causing the pastor to be, encouraging them to get married at an early age without even getting premarital counseling?
Oh, you see, when young couples ending up getting pregnant inside the church, don't want it to become a stigma that you're going to church and now you're getting pregnant. So the pastor always suggests that they get married. But that's not the right decision because they have not yet in counseling before going into the marriage. So as a result of that, the marriage doesn't last because they didn't get to know each other before going into the relationship.
Okay. I understand what you're saying. So you're saying that in your line of work, you would come across these couples that have, hurriedly gotten married before getting premarital counseling. And this is sometimes one of the reasons why the family is in crisis.
Yes.
All right. I understand. Now, I want to hear from Pastor Blake, because what Mr. Lash also said in his book, he says, Christians affirm that the family is one of God's most essential gifts to his human children, and that honoring the Creator's design for marriage and the family is a pathway to glorifying God and to human flourishing. God gave marriage and the family in creation to all people everywhere, and as a testimony to this fact, every thriving society has found its way to marriage and the importance of the family. The family is the most basic unit of society, and if this is not honored, then the society is in trouble. So, Pastor Blake, do you find that Christian families are in crisis?
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure for being here on this show tonight. As with everything in life, there are ups and downs, and once we have breath, yes, we will have issues and hurdles that we will have to overcome. And for every single person in life, we will have challenges every single day. That is what life is about. So for me to come now and say, no, the Christian family is in crisis would be a lie. And for me to say it is every family that is in crisis would be a lie as well. Because, Christians, we are not perfect. It is not a perfect world. In nothing at all that we do, it is perfect. So, I've in my line of service over the years, I recognize that there are things that will put the family in crisis. And there are a number of reasons why at any given point in time, any family can go into crisis. But for the show today, I've decided to just zone in on 3 reasons.
Yes.
But before I even zone in on those 3 reasons, I want to comment on something that Miss Elizabeth mentioned. She's saying that 40% of marriages are failing because of premarital counseling, because they're not getting premarital counseling. And my question is, which data is that speaking to? Which country, which nation is that speaking to? While I do agree that you will have young persons in church who outside of marriage begins to have sex and they can get pregnant and, end up being married after that, the premarital counseling for any true church of God, for any true servant of the living God, it is their duty, and no pastor, at least in the circle that I know of, I don't know of any pastor who would say to a couple, come get married without doing the premarital counseling. I know that they will say to them, okay, this happened already, so let's get married. But where is the premarital counseling part of that? I beg to differ. Yes, the premarital counseling is a must. And for any true church of God, any pastor who calls himself a pastor and is ordained by God, not by man, and know the principle of the Bible, then premarital counseling is a must.
Yes.
So I have 3 reasons I want to outline here. Many people might think that Christians, we don't go to counseling. But yes, even we struggle in our marriages. If you are a Christian and have ever felt disappointed, frustrated, or even angry with your spouse, you're not alone. It happens. You may not know what to do or where to turn, but the church is here. The counselors, your first panelist, she is a counselor, but even within the church, there are counselors. Not all pastors are counselors, because not all pastors are trained to be a counselor.
Yes.
Not because you know the word of God, don't mean that, okay, then you know how to apply the techniques that are necessary and needed to effectively help somebody through the hurdles when they're struggling with a crisis in their marriage. So here are 3 of the reasons, three of the reasons that I am going to pinpoint today why some of the members in my congregation and some of the members in other congregations that I've noticed are going through crisis. So communication challenge is a crisis right across. You don't have to be married. It is a challenge in your office. It is a challenge with your friends.
Yes.
It is a huge challenge. And as Christian, we acknowledge that this is a big concern. It seems as though this topic comes up almost daily, everywhere you go. Communication. It is a problem communicating with your children. There are few factors at play here, I believe. And one of the factors that I recognize is that men and women, we do communicate differently. There has been tons of research done on how we communicate, and the major point to a fundamental difference is the fundamental difference between men and women. We are different. There was a book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
Yes.
And that is the reality. Clearly, there are many expectations, and each couple may have its own set of communication talents, but in general, it is commonly understood that man talk less than woman. We know that.
Yes,
I know that.
indeed.
In my marriage, it's the same thing. My husband will just sit down and me a blah, 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 on. And he will just sit down there and he gets 1 or 2 little words in between.
Many of us will agree.
Yes, women tend to be emotional in how we communicate. And men at times, they have a trouble, doing that. They have a trouble. For instance, I'll be talking to my husband and I'll be doing something. And he's not responding because he cannot communicate with me while he's doing something else. And then that just
he can't
yes,
multitask.
you don't know how to multitask.
Yes.
You understand? And men tend to be more easily forgetful. Who have that experience? We talk about, yes, we sit down and we discuss this, and you come back again, honey, we did about that again. You know, and you have this challenge and you're going through and you're having an issue and you discuss the issue and you are at the point where you think that you can get some resolve. And then because of their lack of communication, they just put you back right at ground zero. So men, we communicate differently from women. And that is a major issue.
Miss Blake, I want you to hold the other 2 points that you have. We're going on a commercial break and we'll be right back with you, Miss Blake.
Okay.
Customer service island-wide. We will deliver your packages right at your doorstep. Call us today at 876-3946 or WhatsApp us at 876-49523. Remember, Yogo, your orders, our goal.
Welcome back. Welcome back. I know you're enjoying the discussion and we'll get right back to Miss Blake was telling us the types of crisis or the causes, some of the causes for the crisis in our Christian families. Go right ahead, Miss Blake.
Thank you. Okay, so the second issue that I've identified is lack of investment. This is a very, very serious issue.
Yes.
So sometimes we think that because we are Christian and because we go to church and perhaps read our Bible and pray, we shouldn't have to do anything more to invest in our marriage. So this is the investment, the time that we spend with our spouse. Some of us get so caught up in being religious or get caught up in the religious activity that we forget to take time out for our families. You have your husband, your wife, and you know, I know of this one experience. The husband wasn't feeling well, so the wife decided to stay home. She's an evangelist at the church, so she decided to stay home and nurse her husband for that day.
Yes.
And that was the reason she gave for not coming to church. And you have members who had an issue with it because they're saying, leave the husband at home because as long as he's still able, even though he's not feeling well, as long as he's still able to get up and move about and do things for himself, then why should the wife stay home when our duty for a Sunday morning service as an evangelist is to be in the house of the God? But the word of God also says marriage is an institution. It is a ministry. So if it is that you have your own spouse, your own family, and they have their needs and you're not able to take care of, can you minister to somebody else about their marriage?
Yes.
So being a Christian is not like having a genie and gives us everything we want, you know, so we have to work at it. We have to water the garden. We have to prune it so that it can grow. We have to have dates, you know, go on dates. In marriage, you sit down at home and you say, that's it. You know, you do dates, you do family trips, you do a family day. So that is the investment that I am talking about when I said investment is a concern. Lack of vulnerability. That is another thing. Because we are Christians, we are so vulnerable, but we don't want people to see that. We want them to think that we have everything under control. Yes. So here is the counselor. You're here and you have a problem. Seek out counseling. Prayer alone at some time cannot do it. We know that prayer can change things. But some Christians will say, all right, me a pray, so God will answer my prayer. But the word of God says faith without works is dead.
Yes.
So what are you doing for the prayer to be effective? You have to put in the action. In the beginning, the word of God says God spoke. And things came into being. There is something that you have to do. So lack of vulnerability.
Yes.
People need to recognize that we are struggling and we need help. And don't sit down and say, because I am a Christian and I'm praying, you know, don't be ashamed. because sometimes that is what leads to it. How can I be, as a Christian, have issues in my marriage? So those are the three major issues that I have recognized and decided to speak about today.
Thank you so much, Miss Blake. Miss Blake, I can see the passion about the topic, and I can see where these will align to a crisis in a family, because communication is the main and most important thing in families. I understand everything that you said, and I do hope my audience understands it too. Now, I want to go to my co-host who is on the road. She will be speaking with Miss Robinson. She is a youth leader, and we're just going to hear what Miss Robinson has to say about the topic. Over to you, Miss Christian.
Thank you, Kimisha. Viewers, we have here with us today Miss Shaloni Robinson. She has been a teacher for over 19 years, specializing in religious education, social studies, and history. She's a member of the God Family Ministries International Church, where she is the head of youth ministries. She is a part of the praise and worship team, and even a preacher who has been saved for over 32 years. Miss Robinson, the topic today that we will be delving in is the Christian family rather, is in crisis. What is your take on that?
Go. Greetings, and thank you so much for having me. My take on the statement, the Christian family is in crisis. In response to that statement, I would have to say it depends on the angle at which you look at it.
Right.
If it is that you're going to look at it from the angle where parents are not instilling within their children that kind of value system and helping them to develop that level of relationship with Jesus Christ, then of course the Christian family will definitely be in a crisis, because it is the children of the Christian families that will eventually, take on the role of becoming responsible men and women who will in turn build that strong sense of strong sense of, what's the word I'm looking for? Strong sense of who they are, strong sense of duty, responsibility, right? So in that sense, yes. And when you look at it, there are many Christian families who are not really taking time out to ensure that their children spend time in prayer, spend time in knowing the word of God, even going to church.
Right.
It's as though it's a kind of, it becomes optional. If you want to go to church, then you don't have to. Where in truth and in fact, that should not be the case.
So, Ms. Robinson, if I'm understanding what you're saying, it seems as if modernization is a key factor in whatever crisis that would arise.
Yes, to an extent. Modernization is good, right? But at the same time, if it is going to impact the sacredness of the word of God, for example, because nowadays you find that there are many people who do not necessarily have the tangible Bible anymore. The Bibles are on their devices, and it is these devices that they receive messages and all kinds of videos with expletives and all kinds of X-rated material. So
the thing is, the Bible, the tangible Bible, is no longer sacred, because what the device that they're using now, they use it to do a lot of stuff. That's what you're saying.
Yes, because when you think of sacred, you're thinking of that kind of reverential respect and awe and fear that you would have for something that belongs to God. Now, just imagine that the word of God is on a device where some persons watch pornography, some persons receive messages with expletives and all kinds of loose songs. I don't think that that will enhance or try to what's the word I'm looking for now? Try to bring about that kind of respect where the word of God is concerned.
So what I'm understanding from what you're saying, Ms. Robinson, is that based on the fact that the family is broken down, the family system is broken down as it relates to Christian values, what is happening now is that there's no more sacredness for items that relates to to God or Christian faith. Normally in families, they pass down certain morals that is basically traveled to generation to generation. But modernization, as you mentioned, is definitely the reason why for all of this to be broken down now.
Right. So yes, I would say modernization is one of the variables that has impacted, the Christian family, and thus resulting in it be experiencing a level of crisis, because not all families, in this current dispensation are actually taking time out, to ensure that their children are grounded in what belongs to God, what pertains to God, and having that level of fear and awe and yeah, man, for the things of God.
Right.
Yeah, so I would definitely say that it's one of the variables that have impacted the structure of the family, resulting in it becoming in a crisis state.
Okay. So thank you very much, Miss Robinson. You have been sharing your dose of fresh thoughts. So back to you, Kimisha.
Thank you so much, Miss Christian. That was very enlightening. So we'll be taking a break and we will be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to Zoning In. And another one of my special guests here today is divorce lawyer Kenisha Powell. And she will tell us what the divorce rate is like concerning, this topic. The Christian family is in crisis. Miss Powell, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Ms. Davis, for having me. First of all, I want to speak about some statistics. So statistics have shown that there are about 100 new divorces before the courts each and every month. In 2009, there were 1,853 divorces in Jamaica. That is 8.65 divorces for every 100 marriages. In one parish, the pastor explained to me that there are more persons getting divorces, and this is based on his observation over a 1 year period. You had more persons in that year getting divorces as opposed to those that he actually got married. So I strongly believe that divorces is definitely at a crisis level within our churches. Professor Bradley supports this argument. He's a sociologist, and he explains that from his analysis of the people who are identified as Christians but rarely attend church, that 60% of these persons have gotten divorced. Of those who attend church regularly, there are 38% that have been divorced. On the flip side of it, according to the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, that is Statins, they have said that a number of new marriages fell to their lowest ebb in 2018, reflecting a steady decrease from 21,692 ceremonies to 16,000, that is 792. And it is said that because many persons have observed that a lot of persons who are getting married, their marriages are ending in divorce, they are basically discouraged. They are not motivated to get married. And even when I am as a divorce lawyer, I have to go through a lot of these forms, and on them a lot of persons have been saying that they are from a Christian background.
Yes.
They are Christian. And it is really sad. It is really sad. So as our previous speakers were saying, I believe that the Christian marriages are indeed experiencing a crisis.
Thank you right there, Ms. Powell. Thank you. And the statistics is showing that indeed Christian families are facing a crisis. I have here another guest who will speak about herself and the topic, the Christian family is in crisis. Mrs. Christina Williams-Gray is a divorcee, and she will speak to us about the topic. Go ahead, Mrs. Gray.
Thank you very much. but I am no longer Mrs. Gray. I'm now Miss Gray.
My bad. Miss Gray.
But I'm happy that I'm here to share with you what I have experienced throughout my marriage and to also use my experience to assist other persons out there that may be going through what I went through, and so that they don't have to get divorced. But for me, my marriage or my family became an issue due to the pandemic crisis that we are currently facing, because I I have never had the chance where I have to be told to stay in a household, stay in the house with my husband for a long period of time. And you know that what they say, new broom sweep clean, that's what I went through. And this pandemic, it shows areas or flaws within my marriage that I have never seen. Or maybe I've seen it but overlooked it and say, okay, just push it underneath the rug, it will go away eventually. It's just a phase that we're going through. And I did not get premarital counseling. I didn't. What I did, my husband and I did, we just went to our GD and we got married. And we said we wanted to get married. What the reason for the sit down in front of people and make them tell me what we're doing? But guess we should have done that, because the pros and the cons of being married, we did not know. And you know that when you're in a married, you know, say enough time you have to bite your lip.
Yes, that is what Pastor Blake was saying, the communication. You have to know what you're saying, when you're saying it, and how you're saying it. So
yeah. And what my husband used to complain is that sex became an issue where, you know, them time that when you have to make date, oh, we're going to have sex today. It no longer spontaneous. Oh, we know, so we must do this, so we have to do it. And you find that neither one of us are interested in having sex with each other. And you find that you start to talk stuff and you start to behave and you don't care about the other person anymore. You just talk and you don't care. And then you find that you start being abusive emotionally. Then you find that the physical come in, you just get a slap right yourself. And then you're like, oh my God, where did this come from? I never see this before, but it gradually got worse and it got worse and it got worse, may I tell you.
Yeah.
It was, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay, Miss Gray.
And then it became the point where I have to literally wonder if today is going to come home and then what is going to happen. I'm literally afraid of being in my own house. And I don't think that anybody should ever have to go through that. I honestly don't believe that. I have to, in the middle of the night, I have to say, Jesus, please, all right, let me get some sleep in the day, so that when he comes home, I can literally be awake.
Yes.
Mentally be awake. My eyes are closed, but I am mentally awake while I'm sleeping. That is traumatic for any individual to go through.
Yes. Okay, Miss Gray, it's really heart-wrenching. Okay, Miss Gray, I do hope you get the help that you need, and I hope you can get back on your feet. And if you're thinking about getting married again, I know you will consider the premarital counseling. But I want to thank you so much, Miss Gray. I want to thank you so much for sharing a part of you with us. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of another episode of or zoning in on your thoughts. We'll see you again next time, where we zone in on your dose of fresh thoughts. Have a good evening. Thank you all for coming, guys.